Apparently, Jesse Waters, if you don't know him, he's like this Fox host. It's just like a complete scumbag. And that's not an insult. I'm not trying to insult the guy at all, really. It's not intended that way. And I don't want it to be taken that way. I'm not insulting him. I'm trying to describe a character trait. He's a scumbag. And it seems to be something that he, like, revels in, you know, like Donald Trump, kind of. Like, Jesse Waters told this story a little while back about how he was married to a woman, right? He was married, and one of the people that worked at Fox with him, somebody that is under him, because he's, like, one of the hosts, right? Presumably, they were under him. He caught a fancy for them while he was married, so he let air out of her tire so that she would be forced to ask him for a ride home. And he would, you know, get that in with her or whatever. That is scumbag behavior if I have ever heard it in my entire life. Does it get more scummy than that, honestly? So anyway, not an insult, really. I'm not trying to insult him. I don't like insulting people. I'm just giving an honest analysis to the best of my ability about this dude. That's who this guy is. He's a scumbag, right? Well, he started out as one of those man-on-the-street interview people. He would go to, I mean, he lives in New York City, so he would be in New York City, and he would go interview people on the street, right? He'd ask them questions, and it was basically people to the left of hunting the homeless for sport, and he would, like, make fun of them and all of that stuff. Well, he moves up and becomes a full-blown host. And I'm being told that apparently the guy had his own mother call in to his show and chew him out. I'm not really familiar with this, but I figure we'd just give it a watch and see what happened here. It's pretty short, and it's from the Young Turks. Anyways, yeah, let's listen to what Jesse Waters here had to say to his mom when she called in. And we're watching it through the Young Turks. By the way, just before we actually watch, I want to say I do not like the Young Turks anymore. I mean, as a network, I think it's been really valuable. There are a lot of really good people associated with it. Anna particularly has completely lost my respect. I have zero respect for Anna Kasparian anymore. So going into this, I just want you guys to be aware of that. You know, this is not a tacit endorsement of the Young Turks. I just wanted to put that on record. I don't know what she's thinking or what she's doing or whatever, but it's just messed up. Anyway, let's listen to Jesse Waters get chewed out by his own mother on his show. Check this out.
We have a very special guest on the line, a Democrat, my mom. Mom, how have you...
Dude, where did they find an iPhone that big? That's a humongous heckin' iPhone, right? God, do they sell iPhones that big? I wish I could find one of those. That seems amazing. Imagine the things you could do with an iPhone that big. Imagine the high-res pictures you could take with an iPhone that large. That would be awesome, right?
How have you... Hello there, Mom. How have you enjoyed the show so far?
I have enjoyed the show. I want to say congratulations, Honey Bun. We are so proud of you and your accomplishments, and you've worked so hard.
No. He hasn't worked so hard. This is probably fake. I would be willing to bet, but I don't know. Maybe it's not fake. Who knows? But either way, Honey Bun, love it. Love the name. Love everything about it. He's a scumbag. Like I said, this is a fundamental, like, personality trait about him. And to believe that you are, like, completely, like, outside of what your family is like he learned this kind of scumbag behavior from somebody, right? It seems to me. Who did he learn this from? It wasn't his mom, apparently. Was it his dad? Like, who? Who did he learn it from?
Now let's aim to have you keep your job.
Last night was just...
No, it's Anna Kasparian. Again, do not endorse Anna Kasparian. She's got serious issues. Not a fan of hers. I was not a fan of hers before the transphobia stuff. Honestly, me not being a fan of Anna Kasparian, since, you know, she's on screen, I'm going to talk about it for a second. Me not being a fan of her, honestly, doesn't have anything to do with the transphobia. I mean, that's bad enough. Yeah, transphobia is bad enough, but I did a whole video long before the transphobia stuff came out about how Anna Kasparian does not use logic in basically anything. It's something about, like, COVID-19... lab leak conspiracy theory, and she bought right into it. It was absurd. So anyway, not a fan of Anna. This video is not a tacit endorsement of Ann. I just want to put that on record. Let's keep listening here.
Jesse Waters' debut on Tucker Carlson's old 8 p.m. time slot, and he decided to open with a phone call from his mother, and she shared some words of wisdom, which he most definitely ignored later on the show. But why don't we hear what those words of wisdom were?
I do have some suggestions.
Okay.
Do not tumble into any conspiracy rabbit holes. We do not want to lose you, and we want no lawsuit.
I mean, it's too late. He has already tumbled into conspiracy rabbit holes, for better or worse. Like, he backs all of the, election denialism garbage. He backs all of the same BS that got Fox News sued in the first place. You cannot be a Fox News Republican, if you will, which is to say a Republican that watches Fox News and accepts the things that Fox has to say to them uncritically. You can't be one of those people without being a conspiracy theorist nutcase. Impossible.
Okay.
In keeping, I have a list here. In keeping with the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm.
Okay, then he's failed miserably. Again, he let air out of this woman's tires so that he could force her to go home with him. Does it get worse than that, honestly?
We need you to be kind and respectful. You yourself mentioned that humble is a stretch, so I get that. Use your voice responsibly to promote conversation that maintains a narrative thread. There really has been enough Biden bashing, and the
Look, that's interesting. There's been enough Biden bashing. That's interesting that you see what he's doing here, right? He's like rubbing his temples like he's getting a headache. He's sick of hearing it. Isn't that fascinating? I mean, she's saying things that seem just straightforward and obvious to us. It's been enough Biden bashing. Move on with your lives, right? I mean, if he does something wrong, then report it. But why are these people, like, attacking him, like, nonstop? Like, what's the deal with him being a scumbag constantly? She says, do no harm. That's not in this dude's ethos at all. So this tells me that it's very possible that this is just like a bit that he wanted to do. Like, he just wanted to make it out as though, his mom is a Democrat, and then he wanted to make fun of her for being a Democrat. That's basically what he's doing right now. He's making fun of his mom for being a Democrat, right?
There really has been enough Biden bashing, and the laptop is old.
I just want to use this story to dispel the notion that a bad apple can be traced back to bad parenting.
I don't know, man. Look, I think by and large, like, averaged out, I would say the majority of the time, bad apples came from bad trees. I mean, we can look at data and determine that. I mean, more often than not, I'd say you're going to have a personality that's similar to your parents. You have to fight against it to prevent that from happening. I fought against that personality trait that was given to me by my dad. Right? My dad was a scumbag. Like I said about Jesse Waters, he was one of those people. My dad was one of those people that used to make fun of gay people all the time. He used to talk about how they're not manly enough and all this other garbage. Like, I can't possibly even express to you. It's not possible to express how toxic my dad was in some of the things that he said and did. He used the F word for gay people constantly. That was just like a given. And it wasn't because he didn't like gay people. I never had anything against gay people at all. It's because he wanted to make people feel inferior to him. That's why he did that. And he found a target, somebody that he could make feel inferior, and he did it, which in turn made him feel superior. That's what it was really all about with my dad. Not about hate. It was about loving himself too much, I think. Anyway, you have to fight against that. Sometimes you end up with, like, really, really bad parents. Now, that's not your fault. Sometimes you draw a shit hand. And you just have bad parents. But you have to work against that behavior. You must. Now, if your parents are pieces of shit and you're not, it's because you worked to reverse that in yourself. That's how this works. Anyways, let's keep listening here.
A bad apple can be traced back to bad parenting because Ann Waters sounds lovely. Okay?
Yeah.
I think it's probably a bit, but okay.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how Jessie Dirty Waters came out of her house.
I know, right? So let me tell you more about Ann. Ann Waters has publicly called out her son for showing disdain for diversity and making controversial sweeping statements.
Is that true? I mean, it's so hard to know if the things that you hear from the Young Turks are true or not, because honestly, I don't trust a word out of these people's mouths, like not one. Not anymore. Not Anna and Jenks. I'm sorry. They used to be trustworthy sources. They're not anymore. They haven't been for a long time. So it's hard to know if this is accurate or not.
Yeah, she's done that before. Now she got to do it on Fox News. I love that she had it prepared. So the first thing I was wondering about when I saw the story was this all planned? And it's his way.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Of saying, oh, it's okay, I'm soft. Like, hey, look, it's my mom.
No, Cenk, it was totally spontaneous. Fox News had that giant iPhone graphic ready to go just in case.
Yeah, she's got a point there. It was not spontaneous. This was all planned.
No, of course, right? But no, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking is, did they know that she was going to say that? And I actually think the answer is no, they didn't.
Come on, Cenk.
No, hold on. I think that they were planning like, oh, look, it's a Democrat. It's my mom. Because Jessie Waters always insults older women. You remember on the 5?
Yeah, believe me, I remember.
Right,
yes.
And so Jeanine Pirro was super mad. And so maybe they thought, hey, listen, a lot of our audience is older women. Why don't you bring on your mom and we'll do this?
I didn't hear about this. He insulted an older woman and Jeanine Pirro freaked out about it? That's interesting. How did I miss that story?
This cute shtick, and she's a Democrat. Then she starts talking about the lawsuits and stuff, and that's when he's like, you see him? He went like this to somebody off camera.
Oh, that's a good point.
Okay.
I didn't really notice that.
Yeah, the only time he's comfortable is when she says, don't do too much Biden bashing. Then he's like, oh, and then he lightens up for a second because he knows that's kosher. That's what he wants her to say. So he can say, oh, I disagree with my mom. But when she was saying all the other things about the conspiracy rabbit holes, he's like, no.
Okay, I think they may be reading into it a little bit too much here. Like I said, don't trust these people at all, specifically Cenk and Anna. The Young Turks as a network is fantastic. You know, they've done a lot of good. But overall, I don't trust Cenk and Anna at all, as far as I can throw them. When did I put out my video that was critical of TYT? Let me find it. It's a good question. I'm going to put this at the beginning of the video so that other people know about it. Let me find it. It came out in a live stream on my main channel, and I edited that down to clean it up and stuff and put it on unfiltered. Let's see, it came out, oh boy, was this an unpopular video too. The like to dislike ratio is off the charts. I actually lost subscribers releasing this, but not so much anymore, I bet, huh? I saw this coming a mile away, and you guys' asses said, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Owen. Dummy. TYT is fantastic. And then they came out and really revealed who they are. When I edit this, it'll be really easy to find for me now because, like, when I want to put it in another description, I can just do that. So, yeah. Anyway, TYT has lost the plot completely. And, you know, this is long before they came out as transphobic, so.
Well, it was a bad idea.
So why don't we go to the next video because she wasn't done yet.
Yeah.
Let's watch.
Perhaps you could suggest that your people take less interest, for example, in other people's bodies and talk about that.
There you go. Take less interest in other people's bodies. Yes, I love it. Bodily autonomy. You know, that libertarian, that kind of right wing, that conservative belief, the way that they frame it anyways. Conservative belief that everybody should have a right to do what they want up until it interferes with other people's rights.
Oh, wait. We're trying to keep other people's interest away from children's bodies. That was the point of that segment. Mom, I love you.
Wait.
Okay.
Wait.
Oh, I love that she just says, go f*** yourself. You're going to shut your fucking mouth and listen to me. I hope that this is real. I like to think that this is real, at least a little bit. I don't know.
I knew this was a bad idea.
Seek solutions. versus fanning the flames. You could encourage that Bedminster friend of yours to return to his earlier career on television.
You're talking about Trump, I'm assuming, right? Encourage your Bedminster friend. Encourage Trump to return to television rather than the presidency. Yeah, I love it. That's a fantastic idea.
Everyone in his audience could wear a red hat, and I'm sure the ratings would soar, although never as high, my darling, as yours on Jesse Waters Primetime. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Mom. I love you very much. And,
I love you.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know how real that was. Like I said, I'm a little skeptical. It's interesting, but I am not convinced that was real at all. At least she did give him some of the business. She did give him the business a little bit. So there's that. I mean, that's not nothing, I suppose, right? I just wish that she had given him a little more of the business. But beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. Anyway.
Sound lovely. And now I'm more likely to agree with your, like, I think he just didn't expect her to say all the things that she said.
Yeah.
But I commend her for saying them.
And keep going, sister.
Yeah.
Keep going. I love that she said all that stuff on Fox News.
Yeah, but see, they framed it like she was a left-wing nutcase. That was like the entrance into the segment. So, you know, it may not have done any good. They may have just, you know, it'd be like me, you know, I introduce right-wing nutcases all the time. And the things that they say about election conspiracies and shit, they don't get to you guys. You guys don't believe that garbage, right? Well, these people are in an echo chamber where they're willing to believe absolutely anything that, you know, that Fox News says. Like, they're already convinced that they are correct and they cannot face the possibility that they're wrong. Now, I try to foster an audience of skeptics, people who are willing to question literally anything should be questioned. Enlightenment values and enlightenment principles. I want to know the truth for truth's sake. That's it, right? But Fox News very obviously is not like that. They have fostered a group of people who are unglued from reality and will believe absolutely anything that Fox News says, and anytime that a liberal comes on or someone to the left of whatever, they're going to laugh at them, make fun of them, basically. So, anyways.
He said, I knew it was a bad idea. Look, I know that he could be kidding. Obviously, I understand that's possible, but it likely was a producer's idea to soften his image. And he knows his mom, and his mom's not going to, you know, be quiet about her opinions. And that's why he's like, I knew it was a bad idea.
You know, I'm unsure.
I think it may have been a little bit real. Yeah, I don't know. There may have been something real to it a little bit. I would love to think that they got a humongous iPhone like that, but sadly, I think that one was fake. That was a fake iPhone, right? Sadly, we can't have anything.
Whether the audience, especially for that Tucker time slot, are interested in anyone softening their image. And to be sure, Jesse Waters proceeded to go against all of the advice that his mother offered him in the beginning of his episode.
Oh, of course he did.
He goes on to essentially, I guess, provide some credibility to, or he thinks there's some credibility to RFK Jr.'s lie that COVID was designed.
Of course he does. Wow, did Jesse Waters really endorse that? Who's surprised by that?
To spare Jewish and Chinese people?
I actually, funny enough, I have that clip on tap because I want to, my plan was to download the clip just so that I have it in my library, because I have a humongous library of clips that I keep, and this would be really, really valuable to have in 2 years, or hell, in 4 years, or even in 8 years when RFK Jr. is trying to run for the presidency again. Imagine that. I have a clip collection for that very purpose. A massive clip collection. So, anyways, yeah, I haven't downloaded it yet, but I will soon. Check this out. This is RFK Jr. off the record, according to him. This is off the record, and he's appalled that somebody would take something he said off the record and tell everybody. He's saying that he believes that COVID-19 is specifically designed so that Jews are not hurt by it, basically, is what he says here. This is released by the New York Post, July 16th, 2023.
COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted.
No, there is not an argument by any serious human being on planet Earth that it's ethnically targeted.
COVID-19 attacks certain races disproportionately.
So he knows what he's about to say is absolutely unglued from reality, right? So he's going to, again, hedge and be very careful about what he says and when he says it, right? So he's going to start, he knows, what he wants to communicate is that COVID-19 targets everybody except for Jews. That's basically what he wants to say. The Jews are protected from COVID-19, which is absurd. He knows that's his starting point, so he's going to try to ease his listening audience into it by creating a victim first before announcing the perpetrator that he wants to point the finger at here. So he's going to start out by naming victims that everybody can get on board with. Listen to this.
The races that are most immune to COVID-19 are because of the structure of the genetic structure, genetic differentials among.
Now he's trying to make it sound scientific, and he was about to tell us who he thinks it's targeted toward, and then he got off on this thing to try to make it sound more scientific. Notice
different races of the receptors. Of the ACE2 receptor. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people.
So when you hear somebody talk about the black community in America being targeted by something, that's true, that they are targeted by things all the time. The black community is constantly, by police and by others. And it's something that Republicans love to deny. This is I'm trying to show you how this guy is building out this conspiracy theory and hedging and trying to protect himself from blowback for the conspiracy that he is building right now. So he starts out by saying black people are being disproportionately hurt by this. That's actually true statistically. According to the data, the black community is actually hurt worse by this, but it's not because of their ACE2 receptor or any of that other nonsense. It's because black communities are historically underserved and not taken, it's like basically people care less about black communities by and large. The scientific community has noted that the black communities are suffering worse from COVID as a result of all this stuff. So anyways, he's correct here, but the next thing he says is very incorrect.
The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
Jews and Chinese are least immune to COVID. So he just talked about victims. He just pointed out victims as a method of simmering down the heat on himself, right? And then he pointed the finger at some ethnicities and for better or worse, whether he wants to admit this or not, he implicitly claimed that China created COVID-19 in a lab with the intent to hurt people that were not Jewish, which is just an absolutely bizarre thing to say, a bizarre political position to take, nonsensical garbage, but okay.
But we don't know whether it was deliberately targeted that or not. But there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential.
So he said we don't know if it's intentionally targeted. No, that's not what you were implying just now. That's not what was being implied. And that paper he referenced, there are papers out there that show the blah, 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 blah. He posted a paper on Twitter in his defense about this and said, look, see this paper here? This proves it. Now, when you pull the paper up, it doesn't prove anything. Doesn't even say what he says that it said. The guy is full of it from top to bottom. So anyways, that's JFK Jr.'s position on vaccines and ethnically targeted blah, blah, blah. It's just nonsense, dude. All of it. It's disgusting.
It was designed to spare Jewish and Chinese people.
Yeah, that's so insane.
We have a screenshot of him talking about it. So there he is.
I love that it says we don't know much about science. Well,
That is actually funny. What a funny banner to put down there, right? We don't know much about science. I like that. That's good. He is so stupid. Again, not an insult. I'm not using this as an insult. He's just like the lack of skepticism or intelligence or whatever is astounding with these people.
Well, that part is correct, Jesse. For the first time, you said something true on television in a sense. The graphic did. So I watched that segment, and he's not saying for sure that RFK Jr. is correct about his theories, but he's like, could be, and then we're inviting him on the show, etc. No, it can't be.
Right, exactly. No, RFK Jr. is wrong when he says that COVID was ethnically targeted. That's nonsense. He's absolutely unequivocally wrong on that front. And you know what? Even if he were right about it, I said this exact same thing before about all of their other conspiracy theories. Even if RFK Jr. was correct in saying that COVID-19 was ethnically targeted, we have no evidence for that. So he's wrong. Whether or not he's right, he's wrong. I think Abraham Lincoln famously said something to the effect of, if you say something without knowledge of the truth, whether that thing is true or not, it was false. You were wrong. These conspiracy theorists claimed, this routes back to the video that I did about the Young Turks like forever ago, about their ridiculous position on, again, if you want to watch the video, I'll put it in the description, but it was about this lab leak theory. Conspiracy. It's not a theory, it's a conspiracy. I'm sorry, I need to use the correct word here. There was a belief, or a conspiracy more accurately, that COVID leaked from a lab, and the Young Turks fell for it. They bought it. They ate it hook, line, and sinker. They believed it without question. They went out there and they said, oh, those conspiracy theorists, they were right all along, absolutely. Oh, we should have listened to them. No, you shouldn't have listened to them. Whether the conspiracy theorists knew what they were talking about or not, whether they were correct about what they said or not, they didn't have the evidence necessary to make those claims. We did not have the evidence necessary to claim that COVID was leaked from a lab back in 2020 or 2021 or whatever. We did not have the evidence necessary to claim that the vaccine was dangerous to people. And it's not. It's not dangerous to people, we've come to find. But that's another claim they were making back then. Vaccine's dangerous.
I don't want money, though. Like,
I know you don't, but I don't know what else to do.
You didn't do this to Michael and Kelsey. They already got it.
Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I know that? Why do you think I'm crazy? Your mother got it. Why do you think I'm crazy? My family is gone. My family is gone. By the end of this flu season, most of you will be dead. What the do you expect me to be?
Okay.
There's not enough evidence to make any of these claims. Yet, if one of them happens to come true, which so far, to my count, none of them have come true, they paraded around like they were right. Oh, you should listen to everything that we say now. Anyway, just complete nonsense, all of it. If something is said and you don't have the evidence to believe that thing that was said, you have no place to say it. It was said in falsehood. You lied. Whether it turned out to be true or not, you lied.
They did. I mean, think about how absurd that theory is. The right wing's driving me crazy. First of all, RFK Jr. is in the wrong primary. All of his supporters, all of his fans are right wingers.
Yep, absolutely, and he knows that. In my opinion, he's just trying to pull votes away from Biden by using his name. That's it.
Right? And so they're like, oh, yeah, you see that? RFK Jr. is finally telling the truth. He's engineered to make sure that it doesn't affect the Chinese and the Ashkenazi Jews. Just think about it for a second. What did the Sephardic Jews do wrong? Why does it affect them? Like, what an insane theory. Like, the Ashkenazi Jews are like, no, let's get the Sephardic guys out of the way too, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. Absolutely. There are a bunch of different Jewish ethnicities out there. all kinds of different types of Jews. There are Jews from, from Europe. There are Jews from Russia area. I mean, there are Jews from all over. I know a Jewish guy who is, I know a Jewish guy that's Sephardic, come to think of it. And I think his dad was born in the old Soviet Union back in the day. And he doesn't, he's very Middle Eastern looking, where a lot of other Jews are more white looking. Like, it just kind of depends on the Jewish person. But totally, yeah. They're all out to get, I guess the Ashkenazis are out to get the Sephardics, right? Is that what it is? Okay.
Those are the two major components of the Jewish diaspora throughout the world, etc.
I think it's pronounced diaspora, and yeah.
The Ashkenazi Jews went to the Wuhan lab and worked with the Chinese to make sure that it doesn't affect the Chinese and their branch of the Jewish community. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, seriously, it doesn't make sense at its face. Like, just think for 3 seconds and the whole thing falls apart. Honestly. It's embarrassing that he would have quoted something like that, or that he would have even cited something like that, or suggested it.
And I watched the RFK Jr. tape that he's now trying to backpedal out of. No, he said it. He definitely said it.
Yeah, and again, I played it on here for you guys to see. So, yeah, he said it. It was clear as day. And no, he doesn't have the papers to prove it either. He posted a paper on the twit to try to prove that he was right about this. And the paper didn't even say what he claimed, so he was just full of it the entire time.
And he's definitely totally cuckoo. So there he goes.
I prefer caca for cuckoo puffs, personally.
Jesse Waters going right into that conspiracy rabbit hole that his mom warned about.
Usually conspiracy theories have a point. Like, what is the point of that conspiracy theory?
They don't always have a point. Sometimes it's just born of skepticism of the government, fear of the government, a distrust, general distrust, that kind of thing. Not always a point to it.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what the point is. Let's hate the Chinese, right? Because it's a bioweapon, and it's designed to get white people and black people. They want to draw black people into their community to vote with them. And remember, hate the Asians. It's always wedge issues, divide and conquer, get us to hate each other. Why do they put in the Jews for no reason? Why? Because every conspiracy theory ends with the Jews did it.
Yeah, unfortunately that's true. And the reason that that's true is interesting, actually. The reason it's true is because the Jews and the Christians historically have been very separate from each other. I've talked about this at length. If you're curious, there's a document called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Again, I've talked about it a lot before, and I'm just going to insert like this little explanation here. If you've never heard of it before, this should give you a kind of a primer on it. If you have, skip forward 8.5 minutes, and that should bring you back to where we were talking about. Thanks, past me. So anyways, yeah, that's the whole conspiracy theory with the Jews. Now, the reason that book was written in the first place is because there has been a historical battle between Jews and Christians going back all the way. Particularly when the bubonic plague hit, this is when it got really bad between Christians and Jews. Jews have always had different rituals when it comes to like how to handle dead bodies, for example, and stuff like that. Like, it's very specific about how you handle the dead in Jewish culture, right? And Christians didn't have those same types of like rules, if you will, or those same types of expectations. So when the plague came along, you end up with Christians getting hit harder by the plague than the Jews because they handled things so much differently. And the Christians are over here in their community thinking to themselves, now that's kind of weird, right? Like the Jews, they're not getting hit by this at all, where in reality they were getting hit by the bubonic plague, just not anywhere near as hard as the Christians. And we had a scientific explanation for it, but when it all boils down to it, people will always look for a reason to hate others. That's what it's all really about, right? Finding somebody to blame for the bad things that are happening. So anyways, the point here is that Jews have always been the target of suspicion and hate and all this other stuff because they had different ways of doing things, and they were just in different communities than Christians were, and they weren't trusted. That's all. That's what it really boiled down to. And, that hate and distrust and division has made for a useful scapegoat since day one. It's always easy to blame it on the Jews and their dark magic, secretly, we don't know what they get up to in the middle of the night when we're asleep. They're practicing all this stuff. Like we've heard the word Kabbalah, but we don't even know what it means. And, we think that they're up to something. That's the mindset that people fell into in the Middle Ages. And it ended in countless conspiracies and deaths. Deaths of Jews. Because the Christians simply did not trust them. They didn't trust them at all. And then that book came out, and the Jews became the perfect scapegoat. Now, the book, Protocols of the Elders of Zion, it was not the start of those conspiracies. It was just a compilation of all those conspiracies over the past 1,000-something years. So, anyways, just kind of a little background on why, all conspiracy theories end with the Jews. Mostly because of the separation between Christians and Jews, the way that they had different rituals and handled things differently. And finally, because the KGB, the Russian secret police back in the 1900s, passed that document around the Middle East with the intent to demonize Jews.
Jews for no reason. Why? Because every conspiracy theory ends with the Jews did it. So and once you put in the Jews, they go, oh, yeah. So for Democrats, that makes no sense. For right-wingers, that's right down the middle of the alley.
You know what's weird to me? When I was younger, like as a young Jehovah's Witness, for example, when I heard somebody blame something on the Jews, I recognized it immediately as bullshit. It's like, are you really doing this? Really? You can't possibly really believe this. Like, this is a meme at this point. You're going to blame the Jews for this thing? It's just really weird to me how a lot of people don't seem to have, connected the dots about how completely ridiculous some of these conspiracy theories are. Like, how did you not connect the dots that, the Jews were not the ones causing the bubonic plague? Like, they were just looking for somebody to blame. And on top of that, the claim that Jews eat babies. God, dude, some of the shit that was said back in the day is so bizarre. How did anybody ever believe that nonsense? Seriously. And interestingly enough, like I said earlier, the KGB, the Russian secret police, is like it's basically is actually the USSR's version of the CIA. Is what it was. They passed around the Protocols of the Elders of Zion all over the Middle East back in the 1900s so that they could scapegoat Jews. That was the goal, so they could scapegoat Jews. And it worked. Iran leadership, the Iran religious extremists in the area, are very anti-Semitic. Everybody around Israel, in that vicinity in the Middle East, is extremely anti-Semitic because of what the KGB did, at least partly. I'm not a huge fan of the right-wing government in Israel right now and how they're treating Palestinians and other people like that. I think that's just simply disgusting, and I wish we could get a left-wing government in. But that's a separate thing. That hasn't helped the anti-Semitism. Not that there's an excuse for it. There isn't. So I was saying that the surprising thing that I was talking about here is that the Middle Eastern people, a lot of the time, as a direct result of what the KGB did in the 1900s, a lot of Middle Eastern people, Muslim people particularly, have a problem with Jewish people because Protocols of the Elders of Zion were passed around the Middle East like that. That's just that's just manufactured by the KGB intentionally. So anyway.
Makes no sense. For right-wingers, that's right down the middle of the alley. Why do they always say George Soros when they mention donors? Why not ExxonMobil? Why not the Koch brothers?
Exactly. He's exactly correct here. It is anti-Semitism. Whether that's like conscious or not, whether people like realize that or not, it's anti-Semitism. That's why they talk about George Soros constantly. Yes.
Because George Soros is Jewish, and all these conspiracy theories end with anti-Semitism.
Yep.
Right.
And that's why. So Jesse Waters could not have not listened to his mom more than he did doing that first episode.
Okay, that was the end of it. So anyway, yeah, that was kind of interesting. Let me know what you think about it. It doesn't surprise me at all to see that RFK Jr. is going down this rabbit hole. The dude is a right-winger. He's in the wrong primary, as was mentioned earlier. I don't know what he's doing, like in the Democratic primary, if not just trying to pull people away from Biden. If that's not what he's doing, I don't know what it is.